You stepped into the shoes of probably India's finest industrialist, JRD. The first day when you sat in that chair, metaphorically, it may not be that room, it may not be that chair, but you metaphorically sat in his chair. What were your feelings?
Good question. The idea of Nano came from the Tata Group, which is a well-established group with research and development enterprise. It's been 10 years since Infosys was listed on NASDAQ. How come do I get a sense that one, there's not been an Infosys class startup since Infosys? There hasn't been a big idea like Nano from any other house in so many years. Is there an entrepreneurial drought in India?
I don't think there's an entrepreneurial drought. I think ideas are bubbling all around us. The question I have is, how many such ideas are given a chance to come to the surface? How many managers allow their subordinates to propose these ideas and support them? It's okay, Nano started at the top and didn't start down at the bottom. But how many good ideas actually see the light of day because either financial institutions or venture capital segments do not exist, or banks don't consider them bankable, or we go through this phenomena that you hear so much in India, that this is the way we've done it for 25 years, that's the way it's going to be, or has this idea been successful elsewhere in the world? And when that disappears and we start to be really creative and supportive of creative ideas, I think we will see much more of this. I don't think that there's a drought of good ideas in this country. We've got very intelligent people, very creative people, and with a great deal of imagination. Again, do they have an equal opportunity? I don't think they do.
Mr. Murthy, are you worried about this drought of entrepreneurship? And is that one of the reasons why you've now set up this fund to provide money for some new ideas?
No, I am not worried about this drought of entrepreneurship. It is true that my sector, which was started first by the Tatas, TCS was the first company to get into this sector, then Infosys, then Wipro and Satyam and many others came in. This sector is perhaps saturated. But there are many others where entrepreneurs have come out with wonderful ideas. There are many other sectors of the economy. We have Bharti in the last 10 years. We have had S-Bank, we have had many other sectors where entrepreneurs have come and they have come to a certain critical mass. And so I'm pretty confident. In fact, that's the reason why I am in the process of setting up this catamaran investment, which is a VC fund, because I'm very confident that the Indian entrepreneurs will indeed leverage the opportunities, create jobs, and add value to the country.
Entrepreneurship. The hot new thing now is climate change. We've had some kind of an agreement at Copenhagen. Are your groups respectively looking at climate change, energy conservation, alternative energy? Are you looking at those areas as new avenues of entrepreneurship, Mr. Murthy?
Within Infosys itself, we have done quite a lot of work in sustainability. In fact, we produce a sustainability report, like we produce our annual report. We have ensured that every new building that we build consumes about 40 to 45% less energy. We have used thin clients. We have consolidated servers.
And as an area of entrepreneurship for you to build a business in that area?
Definitely. In terms, and we are looking at practices, but in terms of my own interest, definitely I think whether it's wind energy, whether it's solar energy, whether it is LED kind of stuff, certainly I'm very much interested, and there are many entrepreneurs who have sent proposals in those areas. Absolutely.
Mr. Tata, I know that your group is already doing some work. I'm a customer of Tata BP Solar, but what else is there to come? Is this a new area of your cutting edge research and enterprise?
No, we've been very committed to looking at protecting the environment. And not only solar, wind energy, geothermal, conservation and harvesting of water. All of these have become major initiatives within the group. And I think business leaders like Murthy and others and Tatas need to show the path, to lead the way in terms of what we have to do for the future generations, because it does involve some sacrifice initially. And again, and then that sacrifice is for the national good in the years to come.
Because your latest is a wonderful new water purifier at a very low price.
That is just one of the initiatives. We are looking at village scale water purification. We are looking at city water purification, and we're looking at conservation and harvesting of water in small communities. I think it has to be very much a holistic kind of view.
Are many of you familiar with? I have one trick question for both of you, which I don't have to ask. I'll ask each of you. I know it's a bit cliched. Is there any question that each of you wanted to ask the other but has not been able to do so?
No, I don't think I have a question to ask of Murthy at all. Absolutely none. I don't know about him to me, but.
Mr. Murthy?
Well, let me ask a question of Ratan. You stepped into the shoes of probably India's finest industrialist, JRD. The first day when you sat in that chair, metaphorically, it may not be that room, it may not be that chair, but you metaphorically sat in his chair. What were your feelings?
Yeah. You know, the feeling was of great confusion, actually. One was, what should I be? And, you know, again, metaphorically, you always are told that you are having to fit yourself in your predecessor's shoes. And these were mighty big shoes to fit. And so I decided to embark on a path of just being myself. And, you know, humorously, I must tell you that I went through, that confusion wasn't only in my mind, because Jane never left the office. And my greatest concern was, you know, how will I operate with Jay beside me or behind me or whatever. He sat on all the boards that he had sat on, but now no longer is chairman. And very often when he walked into the boardroom, he would sit in the chairman's chair. And then 5 minutes later, he'd say, oh, I shouldn't have been here. And then you'd play musical chairs in the boardroom. So in many ways, there was, you know, almost public confusion. But if I had any reservations, they were dispelled, because Jay was, in the 2 years that he was there, was a wonderful mentor. He never interfered. He supported. One of the first and most controversial things I instituted was a retirement age. He supported that. Without him, we would never have instituted a retirement age in Tata's. And there were many other things which he did, which I think what I've been able to do thereafter have been because of his support. So there was confusion, but on his side, tremendous statesmanship.
Thank you very much. Do you now have a question to ask him? No.
No, I don't think that he made his own shoes, and he's left his large shoes for others to follow. So I have no question to ask him.
Shoes or sandals or chappals, given the austere way of life he has sort of built. But let me ask you a question, Mr. Murthy. I've had, since I live in Delhi, I spend, unfortunately, but also fortunately, because I'm a journalist and I love politics and politicians, I spend most of my life with politicians. And I look at the world very often through their eyes. And I've had many politicians from various parties tell me almost regretfully, hey, kya ho gaya? You know, malum hi nahi pada. These IT fellows became so big without ever having come to us. So, in fact, the Ministry of Information Technology was a great afterthought. That ministry came up much after IT had come up. So let me ask you a question. When was the first time you had a real face-in with the political class or with a politician? I know your sort of your love chat with Mr. Devagowda a couple of years back, but did something happen before that? When was the first time you met the political class face to face?
No, but between 1981 and 1991, we had to go to Delhi. We had to get permission to get a license to import a computer of, say, $100,000. It would take us about 50 visits to Delhi and about 3 years. To get a telephone connection in Bangalore, we had to wait for 3 years. To get permission to travel abroad even for 1 day, we had to make an application to RBI and wait for about 10 days. No, we have done our share of the walking in the corridors of the government.
But when was the first time you met a prime minister face to face, and what happened?
Well, it was when Mr. Narasimha Rao was the prime minister, and he was extremely kind. By then, I think the winds of change had already started blowing, and then the initial liberalization had taken place. And he was full of appreciation. He was, as you know, a very intelligent man, extremely intelligent man, very erudite. And it was smooth, very easy. So, I mean, we didn't come out with the feeling of, oh my God, what do we do?
And Mr. Tata, we know of your experiences with one side of Indian politics, but have you met Indian politicians who've surprised you on the pleasant side?
Yes. I think my greatest respect was for Mr. Rajiv Gandhi. Was actually the first time that I interacted with any prime minister. And I really believe that in him there was this complete breath of fresh air in terms of changing India from what it had been traditionally to what he dreamt of. And that dream and mine were quite close. And I believe if he had come back to power, he had learned what he perhaps should not have done, and it would have been quite an interesting period.